Well, this is a response video to what is frankly the most brilliant idiot I've ever run across. Um, Man, I'm glad you provided the clarification. And I don't mean idiot in it's just a joke. Obviously, one of us is nuts, but anyway, or both. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for the clarification because it's like at least I understand now why I was so uncomfortable with so many things you were saying, but I couldn't like put my finger on it and say, well, that's religion. I mean, it was almost religion, but it wasn't quite religion. And so, yeah, okay, I sort of get what you're saying. You're saying that the roots of religion aren't, as I think, ignorance, buffoonery, foolishness, wishful thinking, that the origin is something innate, that there is this special humanness that comes before even language, that compels us to engage in a relationship with the unknown that is meaningful beyond what I would consider the meaningful part, which would be finding the truth. So we're not engaged with the unknown to try to discover what the unknown looks like. We're engaged in it as that's really the play. That's really the drama. And the answers are sort of irrelevant. So it's like the pursuit of the answers is the real meaningful part, and the meaningless part is achieving the answers. Anyway, a lot of things you said, regarding the complexity of science versus the complexity of philosophizing. I just point to something like Einstein's theory. All of a sudden, energy equals mass. Game over. It can't get any simpler than that. A nice equal sign. Two little simple things on either side. That's science to me. It's reducing it to its simplest form. But you obviously this is the whole subject of the nature of disagreement would be interesting. Just because we're both sort of knowledgeable. I mean, I'd say you're better read than I am by a long margin. But and then we have this fundamental different perception. So somewhere in our knowledge base we have this. You go right, I go left, whatever the analogy is, and it's like everything built on our foundations then is just, like I said, one of us is building on quicksand, one or both of us. I mean, but these two philosophies are just so incompatible. It's bizarre almost to think that such a subtle change makes all the difference. And the whole subject of subtle changes. I mean, there's a part, I'll try to get the quote right. When we die, this is something you wrote in the comments. When we die, maybe we transform into something more real than who we are today. I mean, just that whole concept has been, in a way, it has been disproven. You say, you can't prove that there's no this, there's no God, there's no religion, there's no meaningfulness. But in a way that the proof is in just the whole idea, like you say, we can track the brain, we understand some of the function of the brain, and we darn well know that if we blow up a piece of that brain, the individual radically changes. I mean, we don't call that a hallucination or a delusion because it's caused by some kind of physical intrusion, but the result is the same. They are a changed consciousness. They are experiencing everything differently because of that change in just a little bit of bloody goo. And so then by your theory, this person who's been destroyed essentially as a person goes on after death to have some kind of experience. So what, they're having this experience after death, this reality after death, as what? As the person they were, or as the person they have become because a few brain cells have gone bad? I mean, so should all Alzheimer's patients commit suicide for fear that they're going to end up in the eternity as the idiot who can't even remember their own name? You know, I mean, you can't take this anywhere. I mean, death is death, okay? The physical structure rots, and that's what we are. This whole thing is built on that. Without it, there's nothing. There's no scaffolding, there's no infrastructure, there's no anything without the living part. And once the living part is gone, there is no eternal fingerprint left behind somewhere that goes off and has, you know, new adventures in the new universe. I mean, I'm saying there is no. Okay, yeah, I can't prove there isn't, but I'm just saying I think if you really do take a whole collection of scientific evidence that exists and analyze it, I mean, I think the conclusion can be proven just as a, you know, because it creates too many logical paradoxes if you don't draw the conclusion. You know, the connection, you know, I mean, our identity is connected to this flesh. It is not, you know, change a little flesh, you take a drug, and it all goes funky. And, you know, the whole thing of the hallucinations and stuff is an interesting subject. You know, because there's lots of ways to alter states, you know, alter perception and have a different, you know, and experience a, you know, changed reality. But that's what it is. It's changed because you have changed the eyeglass, you've changed the eyeball, you've manipulated the input, you know, mechanism, the feedback mechanism, and you've, you know, distorted it. And so, yeah, it's interesting, but I don't think it's interesting as anything more than an aberration of creating a defect or creating a change, and it doesn't have any meaning beyond that. And like dreams, I think is an interesting subject, just because, you know, our dream life is very bizarre. So, I mean, it's the relationships are all broken, and the experience is you know, very distorted. But what are dreams? I mean, to me, that's what is the purpose of the mechanism? What's the evolutionary role? And you know, it's my conclusion that, yeah, this is just life practice. The brain is attempting to you know, create an understanding, you know, mimicking reality, mimicking day-to-day events, and you know, it doesn't do it right. I mean, because it's trying to throw some, it's trying to create a reality you haven't existed in yet. It's trying to create new experiences that you can learn from, and so that's why things get so distorted. But that's the mechanism. I mean, if we can find a reason, a logical, understandable reason that some kind of faculty like that would exist, and in a sense, that's hallucination is probably just triggering part of that faculty. Part of that dream network is getting blended into actual consciousness, and you know, those same mechanisms that create the distortions in the dreams end up creating distortions in your real consciousness. You can see this kind of stuff with, you know, Alzheimer's patients. You know, if you see a few of them, because they're often in this twilight where they're not really awake and they're not asleep. I mean, they'll be able to see things in the room, but they'll also see pixies and goblins and all kinds of other crap just as vividly, because I think they are caught in this altered state, because the very center of their brain that controls all this stuff is what's dying. And so there's no there's no lines drawn anymore, and everything's getting blended and melded, and you know, they're losing grip on you know, the actual reality. So anyway, time's almost up, and so it's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad we at least found out, you know, that, yeah, we're really living in two different worlds, and it surprises me.